Welcome to the Juice Box with Juice Springsteen, covering the week that was in professional wrestling. And hello everybody once again to this week's edition of the Juice Box. I, of course, am Juice Springsteen. Back from the PLE prediction show, we had the Halloween Havoc watch-along show a couple of weeks ago. So finally, a traditional episode back here in the Juice Box. And before we tackle anything this week, follow me on Twitter at Juicy Steen. Follow me on Instagram at Juicy Wrestling Closet, YouTube at Juicy Steen. Subscribe to the show there. And you can listen to the show. The Juice Box is on Amazon Music, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, via iTunes, juicysteen.podbean.com, and of course YouTube. And if you listen to it on Spotify or on Apple via iTunes, if you leave a rating and review, that would really help the show grow with each one. So appreciate the support. Kind of going to be another hodgepodge episode. We're gonna discuss a little bit of what's coming up in 15 days now is Full Gear. We're gonna recap what happened in Saudi Arabia for Crown Jewel this past weekend. Couple other news and notes. We had NXT at the 2300 Arena, aka the ECW Arena, this past week, head-to-head with AEW Dynamite, which was interesting to say the least, because we all know the ratings discourse and all that goes on with that. So it was the Wednesday Night Wars again, but honestly, 600,000 or so to 500,000. Dynamite took the L in that regard, but I mean the demo was 0.17 to 0.16, really wasn't that crazy, and you know it's tough. The competition's tough. A lot of election coverage on Wednesday, so it was going to be difficult to really get a strong rating from either show, but I enjoyed the NXT show and what I saw on Dynamite, so we'll get into a little bit of that going forth. Also, we'll talk a little programming here on the Juice Box, some stuff in regards to that, and I'll also go over a couple of fun tidbits for this day in wrestling history, which, today, November 8th, and we'll talk about that. So, let's start off with some random news and notes. Let's begin with this particular show, the Juice Box. We will have another Main Event Maniacs episode coming soon. I'm not sure when it will air, but I can confirm that the next episode of that particular program under this umbrella will be Starrcade 98, MCI Center, Washington, D.C., Kevin Nash, Bill Goldberg, Streak versus the title, everything up for grabs here. Well, Streak and the title all on the line. We all know what happens. A taser, a jackknife, a 1, 2, 3, and the streak is over. This is a polarizing main event, to say the least. I'm looking forward to hearing Brian and Jay's thoughts on WCW in 98, because WCW is my bread and butter, and to this point we've had a couple of current Mania 39 and Mania 40 main events. We also discussed they also discussed the 1997 first Hell in a Cell match. They discussed the 1987 arguably biggest match in the history of pro wrestling with Hogan and Andre. So finally we get a WCW episode of Main Event Maniacs, and I cannot wait for that to air. So to hear their perspectives on that, I know Jay was a WCW guy, and Brian dabbled in that as well. So I'm interested to hear what they've got to say. But this, like I said, very polarizing main event. Say what you will, I think the match is exciting. I think the finish, although somewhat convoluted, is exciting. I mean, the pop that happened. As soon as the fans realize, oh my God, Nash is going to hit this jackknife. This is it. He's gonna beat Goldberg. The crowd, you can start hearing them get excited, and then boom, powerbomb, 1, 2, 3, big pop, and it's a fun moment. So, however you think of everything else involved with the ins and outs of it, of the match, and Goldberg as a whole, or Kevin Nash as a whole, or my true issue, which is the subsequent lack thereof in regards to booking of Goldberg post losing the championship. Goldberg never got back to the promised land. The next title match was, of course, the finger poke of doom, Nash and Hogan on Nitro. Goldberg was too busy fighting off the NWO and being involved in other storylines that didn't matter. Goldberg wrestled Scott Hall the following pay-per-view, and then Bam Bam Bigelow. There's so many things that just did not connect with the Goldberg story after it all ended at the end of 98. They had so much leading up for Goldberg's streak and the title win and how he kept going, but they had nothing once he lost the title. And that, I relayed that with Gunther, and when he loses the IC title, someone's got to beat him. But then he's got to elevate and become something. He's world champion. We'll get to him in a moment. Same with Roman Reigns. Holds this WWE Undisputed Universal Championship for a long time. Couple of years. Hadn't done that in a long time. Whenever he loses, it's what happens when he gets beat. What happens to Cody? And oddly enough, Cody and Gunther had a match this past week at Crown Jewel. So both those guys having that same type of mentality of their character, where you have this huge thing happen to you, whether you lose, in Gunther's case, and elevate yourself back up to win a world title, or Cody, who beats the guy who had the longest reign in 35 years, and what goes on with him after that. That's always an important piece of the story. So, all in all, cannot wait to hear the Main Event Maniac guys, Brian and Jay, chat about 1998 in WCW. Another note, programming-wise, here on the Juice Box, I don't want to say exactly what date it is, but it won't be next week. I think it'll be the following week. So that'll be the week before Thanksgiving, the week of the 17th through the 23rd. There will be a SIP Series episode airing. I will unveil what that is next week. It's an episode that's already been recorded, and I've been waiting to air it for a while. I will be on this person's show that week. We're going to record that episode this week, and it's going to air in 2 weeks. So when his episode airs with myself on it, I'm going to also air my SIP Series episode with him on it. So we'll discuss that in a couple of weeks, but that's coming up with the SIP Series. SIP Series is probably my favorite part of this entire venture. I don't do much, if anything, with my journalism degree, at least in regards to this show. But whenever I get to ask people questions about their fandom and just generalized ideas of how they became a fan, why they were a fan, when did they stop, did they ever stop, why did they get back into it now, what do they do now, it's involved with wrestling, anything in that realm, I thrive on asking those questions, getting people to feel comfortable and just explaining their stories and just having a pretty generalized, casual conversation with them. And I've done it a few times, and I'm looking forward to this next one that's going to air, and I look forward to doing more SIP Series episodes here on the Juice Box. So that will be coming up in a couple of weeks. Look forward to that. We'll have Full Gear predictions that week as well. And then the following week, we'll have Survivor Series predictions. So quite a bit of material towards the end of this month. And we'll be 1 month away then, once we hit December, before the Netflix debut of Monday Night Raw. It is going to be something special. So we shall see how it all shakes out as we get close to that brand new world for WWE. I do want to touch on a couple other notes before we recap everything and then go into a this day in wrestling history. WWE announced some international dates for the road to WrestleMania, which is pretty damn unique. This is something that, now I referenced the the first Raw on Netflix. It's going to be at a certain time. Everything's going to change with this first episode and just going forth. And with it being on Netflix, they can 2 hours, 2.5 hours, 3 hours, overrun. There's just whatever they want to do. And it's now been reported that in the March month, we are going to get quite a few episodes of Raw, a couple episodes of SmackDown, and of course some live events peppered throughout March on the road to WrestleMania. And normally I would scoff at this and I would be like, wow, can't wait for some of the most important pieces of TV for WWE to be taped ahead of time because they're overseas and it would air at a weird time here. Not this time around. Because Raw's going to be on Netflix, we will likely be able to watch it live no matter where you are in this country, in another country. So if it's 5 hours ahead, depending on when it is, we could get it here at noon, maybe 3 o'clock in the afternoon. It's going to be a unique time. I don't have any of those times as of yet, but I'm going to run down the quick dates here. SmackDown in Barcelona, Spain on March 14th. Raw will take place in Brussels in Belgium on the 17th of March, St. Patrick's Day. That's pretty cool. SmackDown in Italy, March 21st. We'll also have Raw in Scotland on March 24th. SmackDown in London on the 28th of March. And Monday, March 31st, Raw in London. So some of those are just very unique. It's going to be fascinating to see live at whatever time. I'm just thrilled that we'll be able to see some of these things live instead of waiting for those. Well, we saw the spoilers. I really don't care, especially when it's in the most important time, the most important time of the year, and taped shows they're just not fun. Of course, it's not like it's the go-home show or the show after Mania, which that's a whole nother story. Although now, with Raw on Netflix, the Raw after Mania, if it happens in a London or what have you, they can air live. So that'll be pretty cool to have. I'm looking forward to that. Any Netflix episode of Raw, just whenever I want to watch it, it's going to be on. It's going to be really nice. It's going to kind of change the way we watch wrestling. And anytime I think about some new facet to that, be it looking at an article like this or what have you, I just think it's really cool. So, and I get more excited checking out just how, again, it's going to change the way wrestling really is viewed here as fans. So, cannot wait for that. Couple other notes, couple of releases, and I wanted to also talk about this interesting new venture from WWE. which we'll talk about in a moment. But 3 releases this past week. Indy Hartwell, Tegan Knox, and Baron Corbin all released this past week. Look, it's very unfortunate. Anytime anybody loses their job, especially in this realm, luckily there are plenty of opportunities out there to make money, plenty of companies to get your name out there, plenty of ways to continue your brand and, again, make that money at conventions and just signing things. And there's plenty of different action figure companies that will sign you regardless of if you're in a company or not. I'm not sure where any of these 3 will go. I think Indy Hartwell absolutely could go to a TNA or an AEW. I'd say the same thing for Tegan Knox and likely Baron Corbin. However, Baron Corbin is the shocking one of the 3 to me. Not shocking in the sense that I'm shocked that it happened, but shocked that after Baron Corbin had his ups and his downs, King of the Ring, retires Kurt Angle, however you want to look at that, happy Corbin, bum-ass Corbin. After all that, he goes to NXT, revitalizes his career, becomes a part of the War Dogs with Braun Breaker, absolutely becomes a fan favorite tag team, and win the tag titles. They're having a great run. Braun Breaker, gets to go to Raw and is on fire. Intercontinental Championship. It's just a wonderful thing for Braun Breaker. And Baron Corbin now kind of saddled with nothing after all that, and now he gets released. So, very unfortunate, kind of frustrating, like I said, because you just see the talent there, and it had been going, and he'd been getting a lot better. He'd been doing a lot more. Great stuff, and like I said, the tag team with Braun Breaker I thought was wonderful. So, I don't know. I don't know if WWE just felt that they couldn't get more out of him, or he hit a wall. I don't know what it is, but I think I've done a lot of changing my mind and perspective on Baron Corbin, like I have another superstar I'll discuss here in a little bit. But Baron Corbin I was always a fan of his athleticism, the deep six, just the way he moves around the ring for a big guy. Then I just couldn't care less when he was on Raw every week as King Corbin. It just kind of got old, and it just wasn't great. And it wasn't go-away heat or X-Pac heat. It was just not entertaining. The presentation just wasn't there. When he lost everything and then gained it all, bum-ass Corbin, happy Corbin, I didn't mind that. I thought it was fun. I felt that they could have taken Bum Corbin to a lot deeper depths, losing everything, but they kind of just flipped it and made him happy Corbin and win a bunch of money, and that's how it was. But between that gimmick and the thing with Braun Breaker, I think I called them War Dogs earlier. I'm confusing them with the War Raiders, but they were the Wolf Dogs. Just really, unfortunate. I have no other way of really, I don't know, of articulating that whenever they just had such a strong early 2024, both Braun and Baron, and now Baron's gone. Braun still thriving as champion, of course, but it's just frustrating. So good luck to them, all 3 of those individuals, and for their future endeavors, as WWE likes to say. Speaking of future endeavors, and I'm not talking about Endeavor, the company, but WWE is launching a new indie wrestling developmental program, and I'm not talking about Indy Hartwell, indie wrestling, but WWE ID, which is WWE Independent Development. Triple H has said it's the latest in our efforts to identify and support the journey of up-and-coming wrestlers, in turn raising the profile of and strengthening the independent wrestling ecosystem. It's kind of designed, it says here, it's going to provide independent wrestling schools with the WWE ID official designation, with the goal of providing new trainees and existing talent at these institutions with enhanced developmental opportunities. The first schools, independent wrestling schools, to earn this official designation of WWE ID are as follows: Booker T's Reality of Wrestling, based out of Houston; Cody Rhodes' Nightmare Factory out of Atlanta; Seth Rollins' Black and Brave Academy out of Davenport, Iowa; the Elite Pro Wrestling Training Center in Concord, New Hampshire; and the KnockX Pro Academy in Los Angeles. All are getting the WWE ID designation, which is pretty cool. And WWE has actually slowly been announcing certain wrestlers actually being introduced into this program. Cold Brew Jones, this is an amazing name. Cold Brew Jones, Cappuccino Jones. I just love that name. I think there could have been a Starbucks WCW Monday Nitro thing that could have been involved there. I just had he wrestled on Nitro back in the day. Bryce Donovan, who I know is a Creative Pro guy, he got added in as well. I know a few other women talent actually got involved and are signed now by WWE ID. So they are quickly moving fast in this realm. There have been criticisms, though, of, WWE ID being almost a monopoly on the independent wrestling scene, in terms of, okay, now we're going to have pro wrestlers training under the WWE style to wrestle the WWE style, and they're not even technically in WWE. They're doing independent wrestling stuff, but working this way. Could that really cause, could that be detrimental to a wrestler like an Ospreay, Ricochet, Danielson? Wrestlers that are, not traditionally going to wrestle the WWE style, have a different, unique style that makes them stand out, makes them unique to the business. Are those wrestlers going to get a fair shake in this WWE ID program? I think so. I think likely it's going to be better for talent to learn a style like WWE. Ultimately, I think that's where talent would want to be. No matter how successful AEW, TNA, any company truly gets, at least in North America. Of course, New Japan is a whole nother animal, and I'm sure a lot of wrestlers would love to wrestle there as well. But to wrestle the WWE style, I think, is something a lot of wrestlers want to do, and why not? Why wouldn't you want to work in the worldwide leader in pro wrestling and sports entertainment? So I don't think it's a bad thing that they'd have to learn that style, and I don't think WWE is going to alienate those that necessarily aren't big on that style. I think they're going to let them just kind of mend their own mold, a fresh way of doing their work, regardless if it's quote-unquote WWE or not. And I think you'd rather hone your skills to the WWE style. So no matter what, you can work that style. And then if you're not even there, you can hone the rest of it and have an all-around great work, under your belt, like a pro wrestling resume, if you will. I think it's good. And I think it's too early, quite honestly, to say that it's a monopoly and it's just going to take over these independent scenes. I think it's better. I think more wrestling is better. More companies are better. Broaden the playing field. Let more people attempt this thing and get exposure. And the cream will rise to the top, whether it's WWE or not. So I think just more opportunities lend itself to more talent getting found. So I like it. I'm a proponent and fan of this WWE ID idea. But that was another big piece of news, I also wanted to reference we did have we do have, but we just have not been able to discuss anything here about it. But we do have brand new tag team champions, which I can't believe I'm saying this. The Motor City Machine Guns are the WWE Tag Team Champions. The Motor City Machine Guns. It's unbelievable. They took it off the Bloodline a couple of weeks ago on SmackDown. They came right in and they win this whole thing immediately. And they're veterans. They've earned it. They deserve this opportunity and have made the most of it. And I cannot hate it. I truthfully cannot hate that they came in and just won the titles. And I know some speculated that could this role have been for the Lucha Bros. And I know I listened to Sean Ross Sapp a couple of days ago. He mentioned he doesn't think that it was a spot for the Lucha Brothers, and then all of a sudden it's the Machine Guns, and then they're going to win, and that was always the plan. I think once they knew, all right, maybe we're going to get the Lucha Brothers, but we will get Motor City Machine Guns now. And we need the titles off the Bloodline so that it's kind of all just even playing field of like no one has a title, no one's like bigger or better than the rest, and it's going to be 4-on-4 for War Games. It's not that they didn't need titles, but it's nicer. I like that they don't have to have. It's just titles that aren't going to be defended if it's on the Bloodline. You know, we've done that with the world title. And they were, the Bloodline were tag champions since I believe the Friday night SmackDown before SummerSlam, so beginning of August. So they've had them for almost 3 months now. But the Machine Guns winning, I love it. I am looking forward to whatever new tag team combinations we can get to face the Machine Guns for those titles. And look, I've been a fan of them for a long time. TNA, like legends, the Machine Guns are. They've worked everywhere. They've done so much great work. And for them to end up in WWE after over 20 years, win the tag team championships on their first try, kudos to them. It's vindication that TNA really was great. It was ahead of its time. I mean, AJ Styles became world champion in WWE. Samoa Joe is a champion, and no matter where he went, has gone now. But he was a huge fixture in TNA. Jeff Jarrett's still doing a lot, and he was a huge factor in TNA. Abyss is now a producer for WWE. Lance Hoyt even now is Lance Archer. And there's a lot of great talent and things just coming from TNA that have done so much for the pro wrestling industry 20 years later. So it's great to see the Machine Guns, lack of a better term, get their flowers and the tag team championships. One final thing I'd like to mention, and this is kind of just a generalized thing, but I just thought about it the other day. Whenever I believe it was a promo with Jack Perry and Daniel Garcia. They were backstage. Jack Perry was getting choked out, and he just flat out says, they used to dance for me too. And damn it, that line specifically, culminating his, and again, I'm not going to say he's like Raven, but the tendencies of a Raven-esque character, the darker aura, the Blacksmith Championship, the promos, the verbiage. This particular line truthfully made me do a 180 on Jack Perry. Because that line entails that not only, the fans used to dance for me, they really loved me. He was Jungle Boy. The whole Luchasaurus, Jungle Boy, Jurassic Express, like dance, the theme song, they used to love that. And now they're split, and Luchasaurus is doing his own thing. And hopefully he's still recovering from his scare a couple of weeks ago. But, now Jack Perry is doing his own thing. He's part of the Elite, and it's kind of a whole new Jack Perry. And people hate him now. I've been critical. I've said he has had the charisma of a penny. I've very slowly but surely picked up my respect for him. And that line in particular, again, to a guy like Danny Garcia, who the fans love dancing with him. And at some point, maybe they'll turn on him too, And Jack Perry wanted to make him know that. It was just an amazing line out of nowhere that I was not expecting. And I'm just here to say I have been proven wrong now. It's not that I wasn't justified before, but in this world of everything has to be next week or this week or right now, I like to let things play out, give it some time, and especially with a character change as drastic as this, I was more willing to hear out what was going to happen with Jack Perry, and I think the line that he gave there to Daniel Garcia solidified it. So I'm on board. I'm here for heel Jack Perry, and I'm looking forward to seeing what they've got going next. I'm going to run down the Full Gear card just briefly. We're not going to do predictions, of course. That'll be in a couple weeks. And then I'm going to recap a little bit of Crown Jewel. And then we'll close out with This Day in Wrestling History for November 8th, which will be fun. So let's just go quickly. The Full Gear card right now, we have 6 matches for the main show. One very interesting pre-show match, which is Big Boom AJ with, of course, Big Justice. Unsure if the Rizzler will be in attendance, but of course, those guys are the Costco guys. And they're going to, AJ's going to take on QT Marshall in a pre-show match. Look, you can say what you want about the Costco guys. They're annoying, or you think they're funny, or it's just like wholesome funny, or annoying, whatever you think of them. As a pro wrestling entity and a guy to cut promos, literally promoting even a pre-show match, AJ is unbelievable. The video he took in Times Square is like a minute and a half. He references the Prudential Center, the city that it's at, the date that it is, the opponent that he's facing, the company that he's wrestling for, 3 or 4 times over in the span of a minute 30 to get the point across, to make sure everybody knows where he's wrestling, who he's wrestling for, and who he's wrestling against. And it's great. It's a lost art, but more power to him. He's wrestled for a while. I think he's wrestled for quite a long time. But it's just really, it's interesting that we're at a point now where, this is what they want to do. And of course it's a viral thing. It's to get some eyeballs on it. They were at All In, of course, or All Out rather. And it's fun, but, AJ is a wrestler. I'm interested to see what kind of match we get with him and QT, and I'm sure there's going to be some crazy viral moment, no different than a Logan Paul thing, and I'm looking forward to seeing what happens, to be quite honest with you. So I'll be tuned into the pre-show for that. The main card, we've got MJF versus either Adam Cole and or Roderick Strong, depending on who wins those 3 matches first, so we'll have to see what happens in the upcoming weeks. I'm assuming it's Adam Cole, unless they want to do some sort of triple threat. But to me, the money is in Adam Cole and MJF. Although, do they want to pull the trigger on that now? I think they should, but I don't know if they will. Jay White versus Hangman Adam Page, which should be an interesting return match from their match at Wrestle Dream, I believe. Didn't they have a match at Wrestle Dream, if I'm not mistaken? Yeah, Jay White got the victory. So this is the return match. Private Party, who were victorious in finally capturing the AEW World Tag Team Championships 5 years in the making. I had tweeted out in 2019 at the first All In, like, damn, these guys are dope. Their finishing move is gin and juice. I mean, that's right in my alley. Come on. And they beat the Young Bucks. Very well deserved. They are in the final. It'll be a fatal 4-way match, tag match for the tag titles. It's Private Party against either the Outrunners, Top Flight, FTR, House of Black, or La Faction Ingobernable. Whew. Good luck. I'm not going to say that again. Or the Acclaimed. And each one of those teams in the 3 groups of 2 that I mentioned, good Lord, are going to end up being the other 3 for that fatal 4-way. So that will eventually happen. We've also got Chris Statlander challenging Mercedes Moné for the AEW TBS title. I still don't think Moné is going to lose that championship yet. Bobby Lashley, who is officially now All Elite, will take on Swerve Strickland. I think that will be a fun match. And then we get Dark Denim Orange Cassidy defending the honor of AEW and what it stands for against Jon Moxley for the AEW World Championship. And I'm looking forward to seeing how that plays out as well. Interesting story that's been the last couple of weeks with this, takeover, and AEW is not what it used to be, and Moxley and Marina Shafir and the BCC are, beating up Bryan Danielson and choking him out with a plastic bag and going nuts. So Darby, Orange Cassidy, these OG AEW guys are coming to save the day, and we'll see how it plays out at Full Gear in a couple of weeks. So to close out, let's finish up with a little recap of Crown Jewel, and then we'll do some This Day in Wrestling History before we head on out of here for this Friday Juice Box. I believe, I'm going to make sure I catch up on this. This is episode 114, which, damn, we've been going at it for a while, so this is pretty cool. 114 episodes. And a couple more instead of just the regular episodes this month. So we pad the stats here on the Juice Box. I like giving more than 2 episodes or 1 episode per week. It's always nice to get 2. SummerSlam we had 3 episodes in a week. WrestleMania we had 4 episodes in that week. So I'm always trying to really get the most content out to you guys, at least on audio. Like I said, the video, we're working with that. And periodically you'll get a video, and it'll go up on the YouTube, of course. But until we really get more sustained traction with the video, we'll still be audio only. But, of course, follow me on Twitter at JuicySteen. You can see any sort of video there. Crown Jewel, interesting show. I was kind of lukewarm on the Bloodline match. I liked the Sami Zayn involvement. The accidental kick to Roman, we'll find out a lot more, I'm sure, tonight. But we are so close to getting Roman, the Usos, and Sami Zayn together for the Bloodline versus Bloodline 2.0 at War Games at the end of this month. So I'm looking forward to that. Bianca Belair and Jade retained their women's tag titles as predicted by yours truly. And then a little bit of a question of will they stay together this past week on Raw, which was taped Saudi Arabia. So we'll see what happens in the upcoming weeks with those two. I think it's going to start happening. It's going to start fraying. We're going to start getting some animosity. I think someone's going to get tossed over the top rope at the Royal Rumble, on accident, but it's every woman for themselves, and I think we're going to eventually get that maybe pure respect match, Jade versus Bianca at WrestleMania, or maybe one of them turns heel. A little too early to figure that out. We've got 6 months to Mania. Seth freaking Rollins gets the big win against Bronson Reed. I would have normally, and I was upset. I thought Bronson Reed deserved the win. He earned this huge victory after coming on the scene and being a big deal, and after you'd think, okay, well, maybe he'll He's earned this world title, or not world title. He's earned this opportunity, and if he beats Seth Rollins in this PLE match, maybe he'll get a little bit elevated to a world title status. It took 3 stomps to defeat Bronson Reed. Bronson Reed also got right up pretty much after the fact, stared down Seth Rollins. He was bleeding from his head, above his eye. I don't think they're done. So I think Bronson Reed's got more on his plate to defeat Seth Rollins. And I think Bronson Reed could have a huge moment in the Royal Rumble. So we're not even there yet. It's at the end of January, or it's at the first day of February. So we'll get there when we get there. Liv Morgan defeated Nia Jax by pin to win the WWE Women's Crown Jewel Championship. It was all right. We had a lot of, Raquel Rodriguez, Tiffany Stratton came down. No cash in, though. Still teasing that. But Liv gets the win. LA Knight, Carmelo Hayes, Andrade. This was the best match of the night. LA Knight retains, as I predicted, where Carmelo Hayes wanted to do a facebuster on Andrade. LA Knight comes in, hits the BFT practically on both guys, wins, retains the U.S. title. We still don't have a definitive winner in the 7-match series with Andrade and Carmelo Hayes. LA Knight still a champion. I loved everything about that match. A 9-minute sprint. It was wonderful. So, looking forward to seeing what they do potentially tonight on SmackDown if they dive into that anymore. And then Cody Rhodes versus Gunther. Cody wins by pinfall in the middle of the ring, wins the Crown Jewel Championship, gets the ring along with Liv Morgan, who gets the ring. They get it presented. The championship belts are now being just held at WWE Experience in Saudi, which it's pretty cool. But it is what it is. I'm gonna see how they do it next year, and I'll be more maybe invested in the world champions going one-on-one type thing. So we'll see. But it was a cool little moment. I mean, there's other spots on the show that I thought were more interesting, but the Cody Gunther match was wonderful. Gunther had Cody in the sleeper, and Cody just rolled over into a pin. Very Steve Austin, Bret Hart, which happened before with Piper and Bret at Mania 8. So just a great, way to end the match. And I talked about it earlier. The guy who beats Gunther has to keep going forth and do something big, and then Gunther has to elevate himself. Whoever beats Roman has to elevate themselves, and Cody was that guy, and he's been champion, and now both these guys face each other in a match where, neither of these guys can lose. Oh my God. I like that. Someone has to lose. Anything can happen in the World Wrestling Federation. So, for, Gunther taking a loss, he had Cody beat, but Cody somehow escaped. It happens. Gunther doesn't lose any championship. Cody doesn't, bury Gunther in any way. And here's the best part. Gunther's next challenger, which I believe Damian Priest will be. I think he won the Fatal 4-Way match. He could say, look, Gunther, yeah, you beat me for the world title at SummerSlam, or, what have you. But here's the thing. You just lost to Cody. Why can't I beat you? It's a little bit of a vulnerability that Gunther can have without losing his championship, and he lost to the other world champion, so I think it's good storytelling. Also, no Goldberg. He was at College Game Day that same Saturday and did announce that in 2025 he will be having his retirement match, probably with WWE. I don't know who it'll be with. So John Cena and Goldberg both calling it quits in 2025. Doubt they'll face each other. I would wager Braun Breaker is an opponent for Goldberg, and I would love to see that, although we could see Gunther Goldberg as well. As long as it works, I don't care if Goldberg squashes someone. I don't care if Goldberg gets squashed. Just make it important, make it exciting, make it fun, and make it under 5 minutes, and it will be a success for Goldberg's final match. So that's pretty much everything I've got current wrestling-wise. We really have tackled quite a bit. So let's get into this day in pro wrestling history. I would like to shout out a couple wrestlers who were born today here on November 8th. We've got such wrestlers as Keith Lee, November 8th, 1984. Wonderful matches with Donovan Dijak over the years. Great moment against Roman Reigns at Survivor Series 2019. Kazuchika Okada. My God. I mean, he's only one of the biggest stars in the world. Current Continental Champion. And doing some of his best promo work week to week. Bitch. So happy birthday to Okada. And I would be remiss, one Julia Hart, born on November 8th, 2001. Oh my God. Boys, that make me feel old. But happy birthday to Julia Hart. Taking a lot of crazy bumps in her day, especially that one off the table that she kind of missed a couple of months ago. Or maybe it was about a year ago. But so happy birthday to them. Let's get into a fun little this day in wrestling history. I'm going to cover I'm going to run down the card for two shows. First, November 8th, 1993, from the Fernwood Resort in Bushkill, Pennsylvania. Who knows how many people were there? Monday Night Raw. This is still the first year of Raw. Double count out in the opening match, Ludwig Borga and Scott Steiner. We also had Mabel and Mo, Men on a Mission, defeating Corey Student and Steve Smith. Crush in a no contest against Dan Dubiel. And Dan Dubiel, if you remember, if you look it up on YouTube, he is one of the guys who famously took one of the worst bonsai drops from Yokozuna on an episode of Raw, I think. It might have been an episode of Superstars. Yokozuna did not really brace the fall, and he landed practically all on Dan Dubiel's chest. So I don't know how he survived that, but he did. But he no contest in a match against Crush. Rick Martel defeated John Paul, defeated in a submission match there. And then Bob Backlund defeated Barry Horowitz. I mean, that is what was happening in 1993 for Monday Night Raw. So let's get into some more interesting notes here. November 8th, 1999, the Gainbridge Fieldhouse, a.k.a. Bankers Life Fieldhouse, or the Conseco Fieldhouse, Indianapolis, Indiana, WCW Monday Nitro, 9,922 in attendance. 13 matches on this show. I believe this is probably in that 3-hour era of Monday Nitro. Billy Kidman defeated Norman Smiley over in a hardcore match. Chris Benoit defeated Medusa by DQ. I don't know why that was booked. Rick Steiner defeated Disco Inferno. Goldberg defeated Sting. Buff Bagwell defeated Vampiro. Bret Hart defeated Perry Saturn. And I think some of these were qualifiers to get into the match at the end of the night for the United States title. Booker T defeated Gerald and Patrick, who are the Harris twins, a.k.a. Ron and Don Harris, but they were Gerald, Jerry Briscoe, Patrick, Pat Patterson. That's what they were doing, the Russo-Ferrara era, baby. Handicap street fight, Booker T wins. Asia, not to be confused with China, and Dean Malenko defeating Rey Mysterio and Torrie Wilson. Sid Vicious and Lex Luger went to a no contest draw. Brian Knobbs defeated Bam Bam Bigelow in a hardcore match. Scott Hall defeated Lash LaRue. Jeff Jarrett defeated Kurt Hennig by countout. And then in the main event, a United States Championship fatal 4-way ladder match with Kevin Nash as the referee. Say that 5 times fast. Scott Hall defeats Bret Hart, Goldberg, and Sid Vicious to win the United States Championship. And I believe that was like Scott Hall gets like pushed up the ladder, or it's like a real like slow, funny, ironic climb to win the title. I don't know. Kevin Nash like held the belt up in the air. That's what it was. Like WCW, man, 99. I mean, again, we're gonna talk about. They're gonna, the Main Event Maniac guys are gonna chat about it. Starrcade 98, and as soon as Goldberg loses the title, he has nothing left to do. They go back to the Flair Hogan stuff until literally April, and then you get just a hodgepodge of Hogan, Savage, Nash, Sid, Rick Steiner, Sting. Then you get the Russo era, the end of 99. It's just done, and it's done. 99, it's cooked. WCW was so hot in 98, and it's over by the end of 99, to be honest. And 2000's a whole nother ball game, and 3 months into 01, they're done. So, end of 99, just not great for WCW, but I find some fondness in those later WCW shows, whether they sucked or not. So, that was this day in pro wrestling history, November 8th. But this has been the Juice Box. Hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Kind of another hodgepodge of not a lot, but we did have quite a bit of just news, notes, some shows to recap, of course, with the prediction show last week with Josh Eisenberg. Shout out to Josh. And, of course, the Halloween Havoc watch-along show, Halloween Havoc 1994 watch-along show, which will always be available if you want to check out that pay-per-view on Peacock and watch along with yours truly. It's always going to be a fun thing that you can revisit if you'd like and sit through 3 hours of me doing alternate WCW commentary. But without that, with that and the prediction show, I'm kind of out of the loop with what's been going on. So a lot of news, notes, recap, results, stuff to touch on, WWE ID, these international shows, Full Gear coming up, Saudi show, Survivor Series at the end of the month, a lot going on. So, hopefully you guys enjoyed this episode. Next week, I think will be another just fun, normal episode of the Juice Box. And then the following week, we'll have a SIP series. We'll likely have the Full Gear predictions as well. Survivor Series predictions the week after that. And who knows what will be airing in between any of that. If we have any more interesting episodes to air, they will be aired. I don't know if the Main Event Maniacs will be done by then, but if it is, it'll be out. Potentially, I would wager they're doing it so that it's out for December, so to coincide with Starrcade, but I'm not going to tell you what they think because I have no idea. So, enough me rambling. Hopefully you guys enjoy your weekend, enjoy some football, and enjoy what we got going on. A couple more months of this 2-hour Raw before we kick things into high gear. We got Full Gear coming up, and of course Survivor Series at the end of the month. So, at Juicy Scene on Twitter, Juicy Wrestling Closet on Instagram, and subscribe to the show on YouTube, Spotify, iTunes, and Apple Podcasts, juicysteen.podbean.com, and on Amazon Music. So, I'm Juice Springsteen, and I hope you guys tune in next week for another edition of The Juice Box. That was The Juice Box with Juice Springsteen. Make sure to subscribe to The Juice Box wherever you listen to podcasts.